We are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Jessie. I am a mom on a mission, and it is Thursday night. And on Thursdays, I get to bring awesome moms to you guys. And this Thursday, I have Morgan, the blogger behind Phoenix Rising, talking about sexual assault awareness. And we're going to give everybody a second to find us. So if you do see us, make sure to say hashtag live if you're here live, hashtag replay if you're on the replay. And we're going to go ahead and share our positives right now, because it's always good to start the day off with just remembering something awesome. So if you have one of those, share those in the comments as well. If you're on the replay, do that too. It's a great place to celebrate. Morgan, we're going to start with you. What is your positive today, my dear?
My positive is my condo is finished and ready to go to market.
It is beautiful. If you guys do not know anyone who has this gift, like Morgan has the gift to make anything look beautiful. I mean, like if you just, looking at her, you can tell that she has a lot of style. But like, she has the ability to take any home that I have ever seen and make it like a show-stopping, Pinterest-worthy home. Like literally, when I get ready to do my house, you are coming over.
I totally will.
Okay, good. I'll pay you in snacks and humor. I don't know. I'll figure it out. My positive today, and again, if you do have a positive, please join in with us. My positive is amazing friends and family. If you guys follow me personally, you know that my home is struggling with COVID right now, and I am barely sitting up, but I knew this was an important night, and I knew that you guys needed to hear what was going on, and I absolutely adore Morgan and everything we're about to speak on. So, it's really important. If you guys have any engagement along the way, if you have any questions, you can feel free to private message them, or go ahead and just, let us know in the comments, and we will get to them. But I'm going to let Morgan do a little intro of herself here, and we'll go from there. All right, guys?
All right,
Morgan.
All right. So my name is Morgan, and I am a survivor of sexual assault, childhood sexual assault, and I've experienced sexual assault as an adult as well. And I have just taken a passion for sexual assault and domestic violence awareness. I used to compete in the Miss America organization, and that was my platform, was sexual assault awareness. So it's been a very long time. I don't even want to say how many years that I've been, working on this platform, if you will. But I have 4 children. I have 2 biological children and 2 bonus children. And my bonus children are grown, but my younger children, my biological children, I have raised in the ways that we're going to be talking about tonight, because again, this is just a passion of mine, and it's so important to drive these facts home for our kids. I'm getting married very soon, and what else should I?
Oh, well, that's great. I love, like I said, guys, if you don't know Morgan, she is amazing. She is as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. So I'm very excited to have her here today. I'm so excited to hear that you're getting married as well. And like I said, I knew it was really important to make sure that we went through with this tonight. And I love that, I know we've known each other for quite a while, and this stuff is really important to you. And it should be important to all parents, because I know that, sexual assault awareness, and this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April is, it's something that people like to tweet about, but nobody likes to talk about. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely something that we need to be addressing with our kids, because I am a firm believer, if you saw my segment on cuties and pornography talk and stuff with our kids, like if you don't talk about it, they will find somebody and they will give them the wrong information. So you have the opportunity to mold your kids and tell them what's right and what's wrong. So I'm if you're all right to go into it, I'm good to go right into it. And then again, if you guys are live, go ahead and let us know you're live. If you have questions as we're going, please put them in. If you have questions at the end, please put them in. We'd love to answer them, and just support each other here, okay? So the first thing we've got, and this is something that I hear a lot of moms ask about, which is actually good touch, bad touch. So go ahead and let us know about that, Morgan.
First of all, I do want to say that today is Denim Day.
Yay!
April 28th is Denim Day. And the whole reason behind Denim Day, if you don't know, is to show that it doesn't matter what you're wearing, you never ask to be sexually assaulted. Sexual assault has been going on since women were wearing petticoats, and a million layers of dresses. So Denim Day exists because it's basically standing in solidarity, wearing jeans to show it doesn't matter what you're wearing. Rape is rape. Sexual assault is sexual assault. No means no. But good touch versus bad touch. Now, I'm actually really glad that we're starting out with this because we do have a phenomenal resource here in Muskegon County. I don't know if I am allowed to say her name or where she's from, but she visits all the schools. She probably doesn't remember me, but I shadowed her actually when I was in high school. And I can't believe she's still doing this. But she's phenomenal. And she goes to all of the different schools and she teaches these children about good touch versus bad touch. But what's really important to understand is that sometimes kids that are growing up in a situation, especially where there is incest or it's somebody very close to them, which 9 times out of 10, it is someone close to the child. They might hear this program, the good touch versus bad touch program. They might go through the whole thing when they're at school and still have no idea that it's happening to them. Yeah. So I want to be very clear about that because I didn't realize that what was happening to me was not appropriate until I was 17 years old and the prosecutor at the time came to my high school and asked me questions and my entire childhood flashed in front of my eyes. So I want to make that infinitely clear that it's really, really important to have these conversations with your kids and not just let someone, from child abuse counsel, just talk to your kids one day a year at their school because they're not necessarily going to understand. And if you have that one-on-one time with them and you're able to have these conversations and really get into it with your kids, just make sure that they understand what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, just have those conversations with your kids early and often. I used to have conversations with their pediatrician all the time because of course, being a survivor, I'm a little hyper vigilant about it. And I used to ask, like, am I over the top? And he's like, no, this is perfectly fine because your kids are going to know and they're going to come to you if something happens, So that was relieving because I know that I mean, from the time that they were babies, I would just say, I'm never going to let anyone hurt you, and like have these conversations. But it's really important because I'm telling you, as a child that went through that and then at 17 realized that everything that I knew was wrong. That's a hard reality to come to terms with, and the person was prosecuted, and it was all just really fast after that moment that the prosecutor came to the school, and it took me several years to cope with it and understand what happened and all of that. So this good touch versus bad touch conversation is so incredibly important to have with your kids early and often. I think that
Yeah. Well, and
covered
I think
it.
I love what you're saying here too, because it's not a comfortable conversation.
No.
It's not comfortable. It's extremely uncomfortable to have with your
Mhm.
kids, but it's even more necessary because we're the ones who have the ability to make sure that they are being trained correctly. And
Right.
like you said, and I had put it in the post too, you know, when most of the time it's somebody that they know.
Mhm.
And I wanted, like, when we were one of the questions we had gotten, it was about that the TikTok trend going around right now, which
Ugh.
is
Mhm.
the rape day. That was April 24th, I guess. And there were literally girls that were I was getting messages from moms where their daughters were terrified to go outside.
Yeah.
Which is just a problem in and of itself, that's their solution is to stay indoors.
Right.
But the fact of the matter was, like, it was almost like letting these parents know too, you know, in reality, they're more likely to have something like that happen in a place where you trust them to be
Right.
than on the street randomly, somebody
Yeah.
running up to them. Not saying that it does not happen.
Right.
It
Right.
100% does, but it's more likely that our children are going to be victims of assault from people that they know or you know
Right.
than the latter, you know, and
Yeah.
that's the sad and honest truth there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll go on to the next one
Okay.
because I love this one. And you hear about it being taught earlier and earlier. I've heard conflicting things on this, so I'd love to hear what you think about consent.
Okay. So this one is a really easy one to teach kids from a young age. Um, uh, I know that I grew up being told, you know, we're leaving, it's Christmas, we're leaving, you know, hug all your aunts and uncles. And while I understand that to the older generation, that might be a sign of respect. If your child is uncomfortable with hugging or you know, having that personal, having people in their bubble,
Yeah.
or maybe it's just one particular person, um, there's a reason for it. And the thing is that if we are forcing them to push past that discomfort, we're essentially telling them that their intuition is incorrect and not to trust their intuition. And that is dangerous. That's extremely
Yeah.
dangerous because then they don't have an idea of boundaries because they question their ideas and opinions because they, you know, they have to push through these uncomfortable feelings in order to do something that they really don't want to do. Now, kids are going to push buttons, right? I mean, like, I'm not saying like they don't want to eat their broccoli, you know, don't make them eat their broccoli. You know what I mean? Like, that's up to you.
Right.
but but when it comes to um intimacy, and I don't mean like sexual intimacy, but just hugging or you know, being in super close contact with someone, if your child's uncomfortable, embrace that, you know, I mean, find out why, have a whole conversation about it. Don't just ignore it. Don't get mad about it. And don't force them to go through with it. Like on the car ride home. Okay, so what was that about? You know,
Yeah.
and, you know, how are you feeling? And that kind of thing. So consent is super easy and it really helps to reinforce that they're able to make their own decisions. They're able to, be autonomous. So this is what I've practiced with my kids.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's worked pretty well. Of course, they're in that super annoying tween age
Yeah.
stage now, so they're up in each other's faces and poking. I'm not
Yeah.
poking you. I'm not touching you. Like,
Yeah.
I think they all go through that, no matter how well you teach your kids.
Right. I know. Well, and
Um,
it's the difference between safe touch and
right.
unsafe touch, you know? And then the thing, like, if somebody tells you, do not tell anybody that we're doing this, like, that's a red flag. You need to tell me immediately. Like, I
Right.
have definitely had those conversations with my kids where I'm like,
Yes.
hey, no one should touch you in these areas.
Yes.
And I think that goes right into the conversation of using the correct body terms too.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
And I do want to say, now that you brought that up, secrets. I always told my kids, we don't carry secrets. We don't do secrets around here.
yep.
Because that's, I was never told this is our little secret. I grew up this way, so I didn't have to keep any secrets because it was normal, so it wasn't like I didn't feel like I had to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't everyone live this way?
Yeah.
So, but so that was something that I also instilled in my kids from a very young age, is we don't carry secrets. We don't do secrets, and then I would go into the good touch versus bad touch conversation with them, again, from a very young age. So.
Well, and I love, I think consent can also be like, so I have kids, if you have met them, that are overly loving, I would say, in some situations. Like I have a daughter that hugs everyone. She holds everyone. She tries to pick everyone up. I'm that mom at the park that's like, honey, please put that kid down. I do not want to get in a fight today. Please put her down. And I have the moms like, tell your kid to put her down. And I'm like, I did. I'm sorry. So like teaching them those boundaries, and that hey, you need to respect other people's boundaries. Even my 3-year-old, we're he's still going through the I want boobies phase. And I have to tell him no, and he will still try to sneak on and sneak down there. And my husband will look at him and say, no means no, to my almost 3-year-old, and say, no means no, Bubby. Mommy says no. You respect mommy. You say you don't touch. And
Right.
like we're already starting that at 2 or 3 because my kids are like aggressively affectionate. And I feel like if we don't rein that in now, they're not gonna know later on that it's not appropriate, And
I think that might be why our kids got along, because my kids are the overly affectionate type as well. And I think because my daughter she was that overly affectionate type. Now, of course, she's a teenager, so nobody's.
That's mine. That's mine. She's like, don't touch me. You too, Mom. You too. And I'm like, why? But give me my baby back. Oh, look, Jeanette is live. Hi, Jeanette. We are having questions at the end, so thanks for letting us know that you're here live. We've gone over good touch, bad touch, consent, and next we've got respect. And I really, really love this one. And then I will be asking Morgan questions that were sent to me before as well. So you can feel free to message those or bring them up in the comments if you have them as well.
So respect. Again, this just is a conversation with your kids, and it really goes along with everything that we've been talking about so far. So there are other ways to show respect other than hugging all of your family members at the end of Christmas, right? So, but this is talking about respecting their bodies, eating healthy, and going over the no touch zones. My son now calls it the no zone. Apparently, there's like who knows? It's probably on YouTube. Anyway, right. I'm too old for that stuff. But so having respect for yourself. And I know you talked about the cuties and the pornography conversation. That goes along with this conversation, and understanding that if they've been exposed to these things, that's not real life, and that's not respectful, and that kind of thing. But and then find other ways to be respectful. A handshake, or just just
elbow pat. Elbow pat.
There's plenty of ways to greet and leave your family members and friends. So if your child isn't comfortable hugging, it's fine. Just tell them to wave goodbye, or whatever. So but the respect thing is something that you are, of course, as a mom, just going to deal with constantly. They're always going to be disrespectful to us. I've learned that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not the only one, right?
No. Hey,
Okay. Phew. Okay. No, but here's the thing that is also important to understand, that they act out for us moms because we're their safe place. So please understand that when you're struggling with your kid, that we're their safe place. And of course, again, because I'm super hyper vigilant, if my kids are having a serious problem with respect, I sit them down and I have a conversation with them, because clear, like if they're throwing a fit because they don't want to eat their broccoli, okay, it's not the broccoli. There's something else going on. And because I'm super sensitive to, things that could be happening, I am quick to sit down with them and say, okay, what's really going on here? And of course, always go into the good touch, bad touch talk, and, um, just making sure that they understand that mode of communication is always open and they can always talk to me. They're still going to eat their broccoli.
Yeah. Well, and I think it opens up the thing too, if there's an issue with respect, like we had this with one of my kids, and we ended up taking it to counseling.
Mhm.
And we found out some things that ended up needing, like, we ended up having to call the teen crisis line last March, and on one of my kids, and it was a hard, because we just saw this kid kind of acting out and kind of freaking out and just being ornery and thinking, oh, he's just mad because of school or whatever. And it ended up being much deeper than that. And it was like, if we would have just went in and just kept yelling at him and just been like, why are you acting out? Why are you acting up? And it ended up being some like more deep-seated issues where it was really hard, to deal with. But you never know what could be bothering them under the surface. A lot of the times we don't give our kids the credit that they deal with a lot right now.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And especially, some kids are stuck home right now, or stuck in care situations that maybe aren't safe for them, with everything going on. And they're just trying to find a way to let everybody else know what's going on, if they don't, if they don't know that, or if they know that it's not right,
Right.
So,
right. The other thing I want to say about respect is, again, bringing it back to knowing how to respect our own bodies. Because as they go through life, they're going to be pressured into things. And, our TV, our movies, our songs, they're all about sex anymore. So kids are being exposed to this at a younger and younger age. If they have a cell phone, 100% of children with a cell phone have been approached by a predator. Understand what I'm saying? 100% of children with cell phones have been approached by a predator. That's insane.
Yeah.
So I know that my son, within a week of having that Chromebook issued to him, was approached by a predator on a school issued Chromebook. So we've worked with the school, and I think that we've all kind of come up with ideas on how to keep that from happening. And of course, I have like it's like Fort Knox here. So right.
Well, and I think that's why talking about it is so important too, because when I did the cuties talk and the porn talk, I mean, we had filters on all our devices. We had the Family Link app. We had like all these things, and my son still found it.
Yeah.
He still found it with all of that stuff on there. Like, it was insane to me that he was able to still find it after all of that. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. So if they have access to YouTube, if they have access to friends who have access to these things, they can learn how to bypass. My son has figured out how to bypass everything: my Microsoft Family, my Family Link, the parental codes on the Xfinity, the parental codes on the smart TV itself. I mean, they figure it out. And so it's a constant. I mean, I spent literally 8 hours on a Saturday on the phone with Microsoft. This was probably 2 years ago now. But I'm not kidding, 8 hours. And I said, protecting my children should not be this difficult.
Yeah.
It should not be this difficult, but it is. And so it's really important to raise them to be respectful of their own bodies, because when they are beginning to be coerced and they're beginning to be approached with these things, they need to know that they can say no and own that. They don't have to go along with what's happening to them. They can say no. And if they have respect for themselves, they're going to be more likely to thwart any type of situation that might present itself. So super, super important.
I 100% agree. And I have been, anybody who's ever watched this or has heard me knows that I agree with this. Like it all starts with you. Like you have to be there to protect your kids. And it doesn't, I want to preface and make sure too, because I know that there are moms and dads that watch this. It's not just the mom's responsibility. And I'm not saying that guys think that it is, but it needs to be, if you have the luxury of having a two-person home, and in my case, we have me, my husband, and then my kids' biological father and their stepmom. And we, as a force of 4, which is like an army coming at you, went at them and had these discussions. So it's like the more in sync you can be with like whatever parenting front you have, the better it's going to be too, because then it's not just mom harping on me again. It's somebody actually, oh, okay. Let's see. Jeanette says, understanding teens is tough. A parent has to navigate the normal mood swings of drama of teens. So the line of what is no longer normal is harder to determine. Yes. And I feel you on that.
I feel that so hard right now. Yes, that's highly accurate.
Yeah. I have a 12 and a 14-year-old, and I'll tell you, it does not get easier. It does not get easier. And then, it is hard, but your kids too, where, sometimes if they're really getting into that teenage moodiness, and it's like, there's like a day and night change, it may be a signal for something that has happened. And it doesn't always mean something physical has happened yet. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe they're feeling that somebody is making them feel a certain way through comments that they're getting, or through texts or messages, or just, comments at school, and it's making them uncomfortable because their body is changing too, especially when girls are becoming women. My daughter is much more aware of that now, and she's very insecure about it, because she's got to wear a bra now, and things that weren't there are showing up. Same thing with my son, like he's noticing that there are parts of him that are changing, and he's trying to navigate that on top of everything else. So I think there's the normal changes, and then that let's see, Jeanette, you keep coming. Okay. She says, I think we have to empower our kids to protect themselves. Yes, absolutely. We need to protect them, but we can't always be there. So we need to give them the knowledge. Yes. I would love to ask you what your top tip is, or what's your top thing that you think, like, way to start the conversation with the kids. Because that's always like the actual physical sitting there and starting the conversation with their kids. If they think that they're having problems, or if they are, you've seen those emotional changes or those behavior changes really quick. Like, how do you address that?
So with my kids, it's always, well, I can't say always, but since they've become teenagers, it's a very touchy subject, no pun intended. But so I usually just ask them, what, or has anyone ever made you feel uncomfortable? And of course, they're always like, yeah, this conversation. Typical.
That's my living room right now.
yeah. I don't know where they got the sarcasm, but so certainly not for me. But I usually start it out that way, and once they get past the discomfort of having that conversation, then they think back and they're like, no, Mom, I would tell you if something like that happened. And I did tell them, I think it was 2 years ago. It might have been 1 year ago that I finally told them what happened to me.
Yeah.
And, and I said, look, I know that this conversation isn't easy, but we've had it since you were a baby,
Mhm.
and I spoke with each of them privately because each child is going to act differently when they hear that kind of news.
Yeah.
And I debated for a long time do I tell them? Do I not tell them? But I wanted them to understand where my heart was, like where this was coming from, and why I'm so adamant that they have these conversations and know, uh, the real names for their genitalia
Yeah.
and their body parts, the anatomically correct names, and all of it. Just that whole conversation can be super uncomfortable, and I felt like they were old enough. And my kids are super much, like, my fiance says that they argue like lawyers. I'm pretty sure both of them will be attorneys one day. They're very, very smart kids. And so I just thought, now's the time to explain to them why I'm having these conversations with them. And I told them what happened,
Yeah.
and I asked them, so when I ask you these things, or when we're having these conversations, I just really want you to know that if something ever happened, I would want to make sure to take care of it. And I want you to know that I love you,
Yeah.
and that it's, it's going to be okay, and anyway, but I start out the conversation, has anyone ever made you feel uncomfortable, or have you ever been uncomfortable in a situation? And usually they're just like, yeah, I had to go in front of the class in school today, or whatever, but it kind of de-escalates the situation, makes a little bit more comfortable for them to open up and all of that. And if there are tears, then I dig deeper, of
Yeah.
course, because I just want to make sure that nobody has access to my kids.
Yeah. Oh, I love and respect that on so many different levels, because I am the same way. Like, I I cried when I wanted. We found an amazing daycare. I absolutely adore her. But my son is the first baby that I ever put in daycare, and it was because I had so many fears of that. And like you said, I think when you've had experience with that, it triggers you deeper.
Yeah.
And like when I was finding places for my kids, it was like my kid was at an age where they couldn't tell me. My kids had never been at an age before that where they couldn't tell me what was going on.
Mhm.
And we had already had that discussion like enough times that they could teach other kids.
Yeah.
But like when I had take my baby, I mean, I was in tears because
Yeah.
I was looking for places. Now we found a place that is amazing, but it's just such a deep fear for so many parents that, even to start younger. I mean, they say the national average for a child's first sexual experience is 11 years old. That's 11 years old. Like, that's why they recommend the HPV vaccine at 11 years old, because that's when kids are starting to have sex. And it's everywhere. People say oh, that's not where I live. Like, oh yeah, I know 3 14-year-olds like right now that are dealing with pregnancy. And
Mhm.
and it's like, oh, it's in only in a certain area. Then no, it's not. It is not. Like, it happens. And I think that getting over the ignorance of it and realizing that it's an issue is like step number one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go over one of the I got a couple questions. I think we've answered some of them, so I won't go over all of them, because I did figure that we would, but just in case. So one of them, so we did talk about how to speak with teens, and then on what they see on school and social media. So that's awesome. How can, and I think you answered this a little bit, but how can parents navigate issues without scaring their kids? So like the parent who reached out and said that her child was like deathly afraid to go outside on #rape day. She was definitely like scared, and they weren't sure how to tell her like to be safe or to stay home or what to do without scaring her even further. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think my advice helped either, which was, hey, they probably know they're like an offender more so
Right.
than they don't. And I'm like, wait, I did not help that situation.
But that is the answer that I would have probably given too, and granted, I don't know how well this kid understands statistics, because honestly, statistics can be skewed in any way.
Yeah.
I failed that class. So, oh, I barely passed. But anyway, But when you look at it, I think the most recent stat that I saw in the last week is that only 5% of rapes actually are perpetrated by a perfect stranger. That's not a lot. And so again, I don't know this child's understanding of that kind of information, but I would have probably said something like that and said, and then given an example, like, out of 100 people, or maybe I would have made it bigger. Like, I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, I would have just drawn a picture essentially of that, this rape day thing is really probably, not going to happen. Sorry, I just had a phone call. I hope that didn't mess up. Okay. And I also would have said that if you're going to experience something, that it's most likely going to be someone that you know. And then I would have that. I mean, it wouldn't be like a 5-minute conversation. It would be a sit down, like nitty gritty. Let's hash this out. Because if we just gave that information, that would be super scary. I don't know any kid that. But I would also be very sure to, you said this was a girl, right? Empower her to understand that no is okay to say, that it's okay to defend yourself. And, also look at ideas of self-defense. It's awful. I hate that we're having this conversation right now, that I'm even saying this, but knowing self-defense is super important because again, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. I don't care how drunk you are. I don't care if you're married, if you're in a relationship, I don't care. No means no. So even if you've had consensual sex with someone in the past, it's not a get out of jail free card and you can just do whatever you want with that person at any time. Okay. No means no. And I would want to have that conversation with my daughter as well. Of course we have had that conversation.
And with your sons as well, there's
absolutely.
And with your sons as well too, that's definitely something we have talked to all of our kids about. And I agree with you, like self-defense, it's something that you don't want to have, but I mean, we talked about doing a family self-defense class. And then my mom was very vigilant about teaching me about strangers and like going out, like parking underneath lights when I was able to drive, like parking underneath lights, walking with somebody all the time. If I was going to be working somewhere where I was going to be out at night, asking somebody to walk out to my vehicle with me. When I was younger than that, not being out after certain hours, not going into corners where I could not be seen or heard by people. And it's the sad reality that we have to teach our kids that, but we do. Like my kids don't go anywhere without an adult that I know and trust. And if even when they're outside or when they go somewhere, they're in the buddy system, where somebody can hear or see them. Like get them a rape whistle, get them a horn. There are companies that make that stuff for kids. I'll have to tag her in here. There's a girl that I absolutely love. She's followed on here a couple of times. She runs Bad Chick Gear. I don't know if you've heard of her. And she makes different gear for all different ages. Cause obviously I don't think you want your 12-year-old running around with mace. But like they have she has like different safety things and stuff. So there are options for your kid to make them feel safe if they do have to walk to school, if they do have to be home without you, that they can get those things. So
I just really hate that we're having that conversation because for centuries, women have had to take all of these measures. And at some point, I just wish that we could teach our sons just not to rape. Like, let's just teach them consent, right? But I also want to make it clear that that boys are sexually assaulted as well. In fact, it's believed that the numbers are so skewed. It's not believed, it's 100% true. The numbers are completely skewed. So the numbers that you see, the statistics that you see out there, that's based on what's actually reported. Most people aren't going to report, and men and boys are the least likely to report because it's embarrassing. They don't want to admit that something happened to them. But I can tell you that I know of several men that have been sexually assaulted growing up. And uh, I don't, I
Or
won't
they
say
think,
names, but they
yeah,
have been assaulted by their babysitters.
yeah,
They've been assaulted by family members.
yeah,
All of the sexual assaults that I have learned about with men, except one, has been from close family or people that they knew.
yeah. Or
So
they're
let's
told that they're lucky because they got it that early.
right,
Like it's
yes,
that
and that is
societal, oh well,
yes,
you're one hell of a dude because you got it so early. Like go guy. And he's like, I'm emotionally scarred. Am I now? Is there something wrong with me because I don't think like that? You know?
exactly, exactly. And that's just it. Is that most of the men that I know that experience something like that, like with their babysitter, as it's always the babysitter scenario, and I know several of them.
Yeah.
They're all like, yeah, I started, and I'm like,
No.
let's explore that. Like, let's unpack that
I
because,
love that.
you
That
know,
is that needs to be my phrase for 2021. Like, let's unpack that. Like,
right, because you have to think like, what were you feeling? You were 7, you were 5, you were like, what were you feeling in that moment? Like, you might think that's cool now when you're, 47,
yeah.
but what were you feeling in that moment? And
Yep.
maybe that's why you abuse women now. Maybe
Yep.
that's why you're addicted to alcohol.
Yep.
Maybe that's why you do drugs.
Yep.
Like, let's really unpack that. Was it really that cool?
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that this isn't just a female problem. This is across the board a problem. But I just hate that we have to teach our children self-defense moves
Yeah.
because we haven't figured out how to teach people just not to rape.
Yeah.
It's a sad reality.
It is.
So
Oh man. Well, I want to say I appreciate so much. I think we've gotten to all the questions. I appreciate so much you coming on. I appreciate your blog. I appreciate your story and the way that you use it to impact so many people because I think that's like a super sign of strength is when you're struggling with something, you use your struggle and your fight to like help empower and strengthen and protect other people.
yeah.
And I think that is just like absolutely commendable. So thank you for coming on with me. Thank you for sharing all this amazing knowledge with parents. I want to again say, if you do feel like something is wrong with your child and they're not reaching out to you, there is no shame in getting help. Like get help, like seek help. And if you get to a therapist or a counselor or go to a school counselor or something and they say, hey, they're just a moody kid, great. That is a win because you now know that your kid's just super, super meaning or super like a big meanie. And you just have to live with that until hormones settle. But otherwise, you were able to pinpoint a problem that was like could have been way worse if you didn't address it. So reach out to people in your community. You can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to people like Morgan. I put her information on it down in the chat. That's Phoenix Rising is your blog, right?
Yes. Yep. On Facebook. Yep. Yep.
Okay, yes. And so I've got that in there. And I want to thank you so much again, because it's just amazing. And these are not easy topics to talk about. It's not easy. It's not fun, but it's necessary. And I absolutely appreciate every time someone comes on and does that. And especially you. Thank you so much. Jeanette says this was amazing, ladies, packed with amazing insight. Thank you. That's what we hope for. So thank you, Jeanette.
May I just, sorry, Jesse, I
Yeah.
just want to say a couple things, and that is that, first of all, if you suffered sexual assault as a child or at any point in your life, your children are significantly, statistically speaking, your children are significantly more likely to experience sexual assault in their lives as well. So it's super important to have these conversations, especially if you are a survivor of sexual assault yourself. I also want to say that there is a book out there. There's a book and a workbook called The Courage to Heal. Of course, I don't have it in front of me and I don't remember the
I'll
author
find
right
the
now.
info and put it in the chat.
Perfect. Now, and I will tell you that it's thick. And it took me a good year to go through it, and it's going to be painful. It's going to hurt going through that, and you don't have to go through it chapter by chapter. I strongly suggest if you do go through that book, then have a therapist as well, because there's going to be a lot to talk about and a lot to unpack and go through. But I strongly suggest that book, and once you do the healing for yourself and you go through that book, you'll better be able to navigate those conversations with your children. But it's so important to do the work on yourself. It's so important to heal those past traumas. The way I say it is you heal it, you feel it, and then you move it out. But that book really describes it as a vortex. It never really goes away. You're always going to experience it in some way. Just sometimes it's worse and sometimes it's better. But if you understand how you're dealing with it in that moment, if you have these coping mechanisms, if you've gone through this workbook, you'll have a better outcome. I'll just say that. It's so important. And again, it'll help you navigate those conversations with your children if you've done the work to heal yourself as well.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. I am let's see. Okay, so we've learned a lot tonight. I know it was a lot to unpack, and hopefully you guys were able to follow along okay. If you end up being on the replay, please feel free to engage and ask any questions, and we'll go through these as well. Next week, I have on pause unless I am feeling good because, yeah, I am COVID positive as of we found out this morning. It is rough. I am barely sitting here. I'll tell you right now. I am, if you see me just over here, like panting, that's why. So I might jump on really quick, on Thursday night, but I might just take the break and hopefully you guys can understand that. And, if you guys need anything, I want to encourage you to reach out, as parents, as mothers, whether it's through COVID, whether it's through, trauma, whether it's through just getting through your day-to-day life, because sometimes this thing called motherhood is hard. You're wearing all the hats and you do not have to do it all alone. So reach out. Find somebody, find a group. I have a group, Work Like a Mother for Career Moms. I know a lot of groups that there are in the Facebook world. So if you need help finding your tribe, I will help you as well. But I just want to let you guys know that, again, you do not have to do it all alone. There is help out there, okay? My name is Jessie. I am a mom on a mission. It is a mother of a mission. And I thank you so much for joining me. You guys have a beautiful Thursday, okay? And hopefully it works. Sorry. My mouse just died. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.